Hey there, this is Chris. Let's talk about Figma. Figma is a free design program that allows you to create awesome web and app design projects. So websites, Android apps, and iOS apps. Now, did I say it's free? Yes, it is free and there are no significant limitations to the free plan. You can check out the comparison here. Basically, you won't be able to share stuff within a theme, but that's really not essential. If you're working all by yourself, you're good to go. More on that in another video. Now, the next thing you need to know about Figma is that there's a lot of hype around it. People are talking about Figma and how awesome it is. It has serious momentum, and you can see that from this chart here, at least in terms of animating your designs, which is called prototyping. Now, Figma seems to be growing like crazy. Why do designers love Figma so much? Well, I can't really say there's one specific thing, but let me tell you my view. Number one, I like the fact that several people can work in Figma at the same time in the same project. That's totally awesome. Now, to be fair, other programs are doing that as well, for example, Adobe XD. The second thing that I like, you can use Figma in your browser. Yeah, you heard that right. You can fire up just about any browser, sign up for free, and get to work. Your computer doesn't have to be all that powerful. You'll need at least Windows 8.1 or macOS Sierra, but that shouldn't be a problem. Now, that's it. Nothing more to it. One suggestion, please install the standalone program though. That's what we're gonna use in this course. So please pause the video, create a free account, and download the program. Again, you can use it in your browser, but I prefer to use it as a program. I'm not gonna show you how you can sign up because it's like signing up for Gmail. It's all super simple, straightforward. Now, the third reason why I like Figma is that it's fairly easy to use for beginners, but it's built to handle the biggest projects in the world right now. Think about projects like Lyft or Uber. Think about apps that have 400 or 500 screens. Figma can handle it no problem. And more than that, Figma allows you to quickly make changes in hundreds of screens. That's the real power of Figma. It's actually being used by Uber's design team. Now, one thing before we move forward. Figma in your browser versus Figma as a standalone program. There's no difference between them. It's the same program, the same features. If you prefer to work in a browser, that's totally fine, but I like to keep things separate. So although there aren't any differences, again, I recommend the standalone version of the program. Next, let's talk about Figma versus Photoshop, Illustrator, Sketch, Adobe XD, and so on. First, you shouldn't compare Figma to Photoshop or Illustrator. Those two Adobe programs are incredibly powerful, but they're built for something else completely different. Photoshop is an incredibly versatile program. It can do loads of things, but because it's so capable, it's also incredibly slow. It's like a cruise ship, filled with loads of things for your enjoyment. But because it offers so much, it's very hard to get around it, and it's not exactly the definition of speed, to put it nicely. Illustrator, again, similar to Photoshop, it's a fantastic program. I love it, but it's all about working with vectors. Figma, on the other hand, is all about web design and app design projects. That's it. The whole program revolves around these two types of projects. And because it focuses on just these two things, it's faster, easier to learn, but it's also incredibly powerful in that regard. Now, in comes Adobe XD and Sketch, which are direct competitors to Figma. These two programs do the same things, but which one is better? But see, that's not the right question. There is no best program. BMW 3 Series versus Mercedes C-Class versus the A4. Which one is the best? The latest iPhone versus the latest Android. Which is best? Pepsi or Coke? Which is best? It's a matter of preference. Sure, there are differences, but at the end of the day, they all do the same thing. Now, something to note is that Figma is free, Sketch is $9 per month, XD is about $10 per month at the time of this recording. And Adobe XD has a repeat grid feature, which is totally awesome. But Figma has auto layout. And as you can see, it's a very long list of differences. But as I said before, there's no clear winner. I'm going to say that again. There are loads of differences, but they're not something that you have to think about. Trust me. Even though these are direct competitors, I can't tell you which one is best because it's a subjective thing. More than that, I have a web design course in Photoshop and a web design course in Adobe XD. At the end of the day, it does not matter what tool you use. What matters is what you can do with it. I'm gonna say that one more time. It doesn't matter what program you choose to work with. The client doesn't care, the developer doesn't care, the design community doesn't care. I'm gonna show you how to prepare the design for coding, and that will work for everybody involved. The coder won't have to learn Figma or Adobe XD or Photoshop. The client won't have to open the source file and play around with it. That's not needed. So, because of these things, you can use whatever you want. If you choose Figma, Android, and Pepsi, and BMW, that's great. If you choose something else, again, it's the same thing. It makes no difference. So please, don't worry about it and don't ask yourself which one is better. Instead, ask yourself which one do you prefer. And with that out of the way, please pause the video and make sure you have Figma installed as a standalone program because we're about to get to work. Thank you.